What's up, Grace family? It is your girl, Nina Jones, also known as your messenger of hope. And today we've got something hot and fresh simmering on the Grace plate. So pull up a chair, grab your cup, and let's take a big sip of Grace because this one right here, woo, it's about to get real. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever made a decision that seemed small in the moment, but later you realized that it could have gone way left? Like you thought it was all good. Everything was smooth sailing, but then boom, reality hit, and you found yourself thinking, Lord, what did I just do? Listen, we've all been there. And if you haven't, just keep on living because life has a way of showing us real quick that not every opportunity is a blessing. Some opportunities are used as bait. And let me tell you, I learned that lesson the hard way. And no, I'm not just talking about everyday mistakes like sending a text to the wrong person or hitting that snooze button 5 different times in the morning thinking, I've still got time, only to still oversleep and wake up in a full blown panic late for work. Now, don't act like I'm the only one either. But I'm talking about those decisions that leave you shaking and wondering how you even got there in the first place. Now, before I spill all the details on how me and my best friend ended up on the bathroom floor of a nightclub in Washington, D.C., we were all discombobulated too. Let's rewind and take a step way back. Y'all, this is not a new story at all. And guess who did it first? Eve. Yup, the original What Was I Thinking? That moment goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. And just like us, Eve thought she was making a simple choice. No big deal until she realized, oh, this is a life changer for real. So today, we're going to dive into Eve's story from the book of Genesis, chapters 2 and 3. We're going to find out what happened, what we can learn from it, and how God's grace is still covering us, even when we get it all the way wrong. Because trust me, if grace can reach Eve, it can certainly reach you and me too. Now, before we get too deep into Eve's story, let's take a quick moment and do a grace check. Because this is where we need to check ourselves and ask, where in your life have you entertained something, thinking it was innocent, only to realize later, this wasn't what I thought it was? Okay, I'm going to need you to hold on to that thought for now. Because what happened next in Eve's story, woo, it's about to hit home in ways you didn't see coming. Are y'all ready? Are you sure? You ready? Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let me get my sip. Mm.
Time to see your grace. God, you are great and you are good. Lord, we thank you for our food. By your hands, may we all be fed. Please give us all our daily bread. Welcome to say your grace. Real talk that feeds the soul. Real talk that feeds the soul. It's time to say your grace.
Now, let's take a journey back to the very beginning, literally, to the first woman to ever walk this earth, Eve. Now, for starters, Eve's name means life or living because she was created to be the mother of all humanity. Beautiful, right? But oh, how life took a turn real quick. Picture this: Adam was created first, placed in the stunning paradise of Eden, and given full dominion over the land and all the animals. But God looked at him and said in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, "It's not good for a man to be alone." Now, Adam, he was out here naming animals left and right: giraffes, elephants, lions, tigers, bears. Okay, okay, you get the picture. But there was no one quite like him. So God put Adam into a deep sleep, took one of his ribs, and crafted Eve, a woman of divine design. She wasn't an afterthought either. She was intentionally made with purpose, strength, and beauty. And when Adam woke up, he saw Eve and was like, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." In today's terms, he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's her. That's my boo right there." Okay, back to the story. Life in Eden was sweet. Eve had everything: a loving husband, daily walks with God Himself. But then entered the smooth talking, manipulative, first ever scammer, the serpent. He slithered up to Eve with a question that changed everything. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? Notice how he didn't come straight out and tell her to sin. He just planted doubt. And isn't that how the enemy works today? God literally gave Eve paradise, perfect weather, no stress, and a man who didn't even know what another woman looked like. But the moment she was told, "You can eat from any tree except this one," that's exactly the tree she wanted. Oh, you know that feeling. It's like being on a diet or maybe even fasting. Suddenly, everything you're not supposed to eat starts calling your name. Those cookies didn't even look that good until you knew you couldn't have them. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Sometimes our biggest mistakes come from chasing what we think we're missing when God has already given us more than enough. Eve, instead of shutting the serpent down, she entertained the conversation. He fed her lies. "You won't surely die," he said. "God just doesn't want you to be like him, knowing good and even, eat good or evil." And just like that, Eve took the bait. After eating the fruit, Eve immediately passed it to Adam. No hesitation. No, let me think about it. Just, "Here, babe, try this." Who, mind you, was standing right there. And what did Adam do? Did he try to stop her? Did he remind her of God's command? No. My God took the fruit and he ate it too. Then guess what happened? Shame sets in immediately. They realized they were naked and tried to cover up. They sewed fig leaves together, thinking it would hide their shame. Imagine that, fig leaves, as if that could hide what was now a much deeper issue. Then the plot thickens. God shows up in the garden, as he always does. He's been walking with them every day in the cool of the day. But today was different. Something was off. When they heard God walking in the garden, they went and hid. Now, let's just pause right here for a minute, because how in the world do you hide from God? In case you didn't know, God is omnipresent. He is everywhere at the same time. So there's absolutely no way that anyone can hide from God, period. Or rather, put an exclamation mark on the end of that. So God calls out, "Adam, where are you?" Adam, now fully aware of his nakedness, says, "I heard you in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked. so I hid. And then God asked the $1 million question: who told you that you were naked? Now, just so we're clear, God didn't need to ask this question for his own understanding. He knew exactly what happened, but he wanted Adam and Eve to realize the gravity of what they had done and for them to understand that hiding from him was not the answer. Adam immediately throws Eve under the bus and answers God by saying, the woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit and I ate it. It kind of sounded like Adam was blaming God too, because after all, God was the one who created Eve for him. Now, Eve was not about to take the full hit, so she blames the serpent, saying, the serpent deceived me and I ate. Did y'all notice how quickly that went from unity to every man and woman for themselves? Isn't that typically what happens in real life too? When we mess up, sometimes we scramble to point fingers instead of taking full responsibility. But even after they messed up, God still covered them. We can see this in Genesis chapter 3, verse 21. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife, and he clothed them. Now, that's grace. That's real grace. Okay, speaking of making hasty decisions that have consequences, it was my birthday, right? My best friend and I decide we're going to DC to celebrate in style. We got new outfits, hair laid, vibes immaculate. We get to this nightclub and the energy is everything. We're dancing, laughing, living in the moment, having the time of our lives. Then, out of nowhere, this nice looking gentleman strolls up to us. You know the type: smooth talker, well dressed, just enough charm to make you drop your guard. He flashes a smile and says, "Hey, ladies, looks like you two are enjoying yourselves." To which I quickly and joyfully replied, "Yep, it's my birthday," because I just love my birthday. He then, right on cue, offers to buy us a drink, saying, after all, it is your birthday. Now, listen, at that moment, it didn't feel like a test, it felt like a celebration. And just like Eve looking at that fruit, we thought, why not? What harm could it do? So we said yes. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of bringing us to the bar with him, he asked us what we wanted to drink and says, y'all stay right here. I'll bring the drinks to you. Red flag number one. But did we see it? No, because we were in the moment, just like Eve. We weren't thinking about the bigger picture. We were thinking about right now. A few minutes later, he comes back, hands us our drinks, and y'all, this man did not leave from within our radar. He just kind of hung around close by, watching us, smiling. It was kind of weird, creepy rather. We continued to dance, sipping our drinks, laughing, and just kept having fun like we always do. But then things started to shift. At first, we didn't think too much of it, but then we started feeling a little off. We both got lightheaded and started to feel overheated. At first, we thought it was just from us dancing and carrying on. One minute we were having fun, the next, it felt like the whole room was spinning. My skin felt like it was on fire, and we both could barely hold it together. Oddly enough, guess who we noticed out the corner of our eyes watching everything unfold? Yup, the same guy who bought the drinks. Y'all, we could barely stand and started to feel nauseous. We knew we had to get out of there. So we locked arms, held on to each other, and made our way towards the ladies' room. And guess who had the audacity to literally follow us into the ladies' room? Yes, him. At this point, we weren't just tipsy. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. The moment he followed us into the restroom, the other women in there, they went completely off on him. They were yelling emphatically, what are you doing in here? Boy, get out. They don't need your help. They forced him out. They forced him out. We ended up vomiting, sweating profusely, and felt so weak. So much so, wait for it, we literally ended up on the bathroom floor. And that's when the reality hit us. We had been drugged, y'all. Our newfound sisters in the restroom, they got us water. They started fanning us to help cool us down. And they made sure that we were safe. And with their help, we eventually came back around and we were able to walk out on our own. This happened back in the day when the date rape drug was on the rise. Now, these drugs were typically colorless, odorless, and tasteless, making them easy to slip into someone's drink without their knowledge. And they can cause symptoms like dizziness, confusion, loss of coordination, memory loss, and even sometimes unconsciousness, making it difficult for victims to defend themselves or even recall the events. We made sure that we reported the incident to the club security guard. And a few of our restroom sisters, bless their hearts, they accompanied us and also aided in giving a description of the guy to security. But by then, old boy was nowhere to be found. If it wasn't for God's protection and the other women in that restroom, I don't know what would have happened to us that night. I mean, what kind of birthday is that? The next morning, we still felt the effects. And looking back, we knew without a doubt that man had slipped something into our drinks. But here's the thing, just like Eve, we made a choice in the moment that could have had serious consequences. But God's grace covered us even when we didn't see the danger ahead. Now, back to Eve. She literally had it made. Just her, Adam, and daily walks with God. But then the serpent slid in and hit her with the oldest trick in the book. Did God really say? Just like that man at the club, the serpent wasn't upfront about his intentions. He didn't force her, he just planted a thought in her head. Eve could have walked away. She could have shut it down. She could have said, "Nah, I'm good." But in the moment, she didn't see the harm, which was mistake number one. She took a bite, Adam took a bite, and just like that, their entire reality shifted. That's how the enemy works, y'all. He doesn't always come full force. Sometimes he comes smooth and subtle. Like Eve, we weren't thinking about the consequences in that moment at the club. We weren't thinking, what if he put something in our drinks? Why does he want to get our drinks for us? Why is he hanging around like he's waiting on something to happen? Just like Eve, we were in the moment, doing what seemed harmless. But see, the choices we make don't just affect us, they have a ripple effect, impacting those around us, sometimes in ways we don't see until much later. Eve's decision affected all humanity. Our decision that night affected the other women in the restroom and the security staff too. Eve's decision to eat the forbidden fruit also led to many other consequences, including pain in childbirth. In Genesis 3:16, after Adam and Eve disobeyed God, he told Eve, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will give birth to children. This means that before sin, childbirth may have been easier, but after their mistake, it became painful. But although pain in childbirth was part of the curse, God's grace is greater. Jesus reminds us that the pain is only temporary in John chapter 16, verse 21. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world. Now, that's a good word right there. Because I was in labor for 23 and a half hours. Let me repeat that. 23 and a half hours of labor, contractions galore. But with that final push, once my sunshine was born, I couldn't remember an ounce of the immense pain that I endured. Oh, the wonders of motherhood. Thank you, Father. Oh, and don't get it twisted. God didn't forget about Adam and that old slimy serpent either. Trust me, they suffered consequences too. But this just goes to show us that even in tough moments, God's grace brings joy, restoration, and new beginnings. And that night in DC, God placed other women in that restroom to look out for us. He kept us from further harm even when we were weak. And God allowed us to walk away. Mm. Shaken but safe. Because grace doesn't just show up in church. It shows up in places we don't even realize we need it. Mm. So the next time you feel like you messed up too bad or gone too far or made the wrong choice, take a big sip of grace and remember, your past doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't disqualify you. And God's grace is still working on your behalf. Well, that is a wrap, Grace family. I pray today's message spoke to your heart and gave you the encouragement you needed. Life is full of decisions, some small, some big, and just like Eve, we all have those moments where we stumble, but God's grace is always there to pick us up, dust us off, and lead us to something better. No matter where you are in your journey, know that you're never too far gone for His love and grace to transform you. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs a little sip of grace. Also, be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss what's being served up on the next Grace Plate. Let's keep this conversation going. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. But until next time, I will see you in the next video, Grace family. Take care, be blessed, and go out there and be a blessing to someone else. You've got this, and God's got you. Oh, and one more thing before we go. Always remember to say your grace. Mwah.
Welcome to Say Your Grace. Real talk that feeds the soul.